Democracy, the slogan of our time. But if we peel away its glossy paint, what lies beneath is a profound contradiction. How can power granted to the majority ever guarantee that it is right? Is democracy truly the highest achievement of human civilization, or merely a sacred illusion carefully polished to lull us to sleep? The crowd believes it holds the power to shape its own destiny. But since when did the victory of the majority over the minority become synonymous with truth? Human beings are fragile, emotional creatures, so can the accumulation of millions of blind emotions really give birth to clear and enlightened wisdom? Welcome to The Secret of Life, a channel where truths are spoken, truths society would rather keep hidden. At its core, democracy sounds deceptively simple. The majority decides. But reality has never been simple. Truth is not determined by ballots, and justice cannot be measured by the size of a crowd. A million people can be wrong together, while a single individual can still be right alone. When 68% of Myanmar's population supported the oppression and expulsion of the Rohingya people, they acted in perfect accordance with democratic principles. But was it justice? Democracy functioned flawlessly. The result, however, was a human tragedy. That is where the danger lies. Democracy does not guarantee truth. It only guarantees the interests of the majority. And often, that majority is a collective being led, manipulated, or misinformed. People like to say democracy is a miracle cure for society, that where there is democracy, there is freedom, fairness, progress. But every medicine requires dosage. Taken in excess, it becomes poison. Democracy is no different. When it is worshipped, it turns into a new religion, one where people kneel before the will of the majority, forgetting that the majority is not always conscious, not always rational, and often driven by fear, media narratives, or sweet promises that soothe rather than awaken. Many people vote not with reason, but with emotion, with the comfort of belonging, with the safety of blending into the crowd. And so, democracy, which was meant to make humans masters of themselves, becomes a tool through which they willingly bind their own hands, trapped in the illusion that they are free. Perhaps this is why Socrates, the man often called the father of Western philosophy, warned of this danger more than 2,000 years ago. He did not oppose democracy, he understood it. He knew that a society where the crowd decides everything without understanding the nature of what it chooses will inevitably descend into chaos. And it was democracy itself, Athenian democracy, that sentenced Socrates to death. Socrates dared to ask questions, he forced people to think, and the crowd did not want truth, they wanted comfort. They did not want guides, they wanted lullabies. When democracy falls into the hands of those unprepared for it, it becomes a double-edged blade. That is why we must reconsider. Democracy is not salvation, it is a tool. Like a knife, it can cut bread, or it can kill. The problem is not the knife, but the hand that holds it. If the crowd lacks knowledge, lacks critical thinking, then the majority becomes nothing more than a massive beast acting on instinct. At that point, democracy is no longer freedom, it is legalized chaos. Socrates once said, "No one willingly does wrong, they simply do not know they are wrong." Perhaps that is the tragedy of modern democracy, a world where everyone is allowed to speak, but few are willing to think. When power rests in the hands of an unthinking crowd, democracy ceases to be a light. It becomes a fragile flame, flickering violently in the storm of human desire. Socrates' warning, the warning of the teacher of Western intellect, was not anti-democratic. He was the first to recognize that the tragedy lies within democracy itself. Athens was the cradle of democracy, a society proud of its freedom, where citizens debated and voted on the fate of their nation. Yet that very democracy executed the man who dared to ask, "Why do you believe what you believe?" Socrates exposed the uncomfortable truth: the crowd is not always wise. And his death stands as a brutal testament to an ancient paradox that has never grown old. The crowd claims to love freedom, but despises truth. They celebrate freedom until freedom begins to make them uncomfortable. Athens was once the model of an ideal democracy, but Socrates saw what the crowd refused to see. Freedom without wisdom becomes disorder. Democracy may be born from intelligence, but it can just as easily die from ignorance. The danger of populism. One of Socrates' sharpest criticisms was directed at populism, a disease that every democracy eventually contracts. He illustrated it with a simple but haunting metaphor. Imagine two men running for leadership. One is a candy shop owner, charming, sweet-tongued, always telling people exactly what they want to hear. The other is a strict physician, one who dares to speak uncomfortable truths. Who do you think will be elected? History tells us the answer: the candy seller. The crowd will always choose the one who makes them feel good, not the one who tells them the truth that hurts. And in politics, candy comes in many forms: promises of tax cuts, welfare for all, jobs for everyone, cheap energy, my country first. They sound attractive, but most of them are short-term illusions wrapped in sweet syrup. Populism, at its core, is not the art of saying what people need to hear, but what they want to hear. And when the crowd votes with emotion rather than reason, democracy turns into a political marketplace where eloquence defeats knowledge, and the better performer wins over the wiser mind. History has proven this cycle again and again. Take Alcibiades, a charismatic Athenian aristocrat, brilliant in speech, but so consumed by ambition that he dragged Athens into disastrous wars. More than 2,000 years later, the world witnessed another Alcibiades. His name was Adolf Hitler. He was legally elected. He rose through powerful oratory and promises of national rebirth. And democracy itself, through voluntary ballots, opened the door to darkness. When democracy falls into the hands of populism, it ceases to be a system of freedom and becomes a dictatorship of emotion. Reason is suffocated by fanatic crowds. Truth becomes irrelevant. Because emotion, the most dangerous weapon of all, does not need proof. It only needs to spread. Socrates offered another unforgettable image, entrusting the ship of state to those who know nothing about navigation. That is democracy in the hands of the ignorant. The sentence sounds simple, yet it is deeply disturbing. Because most people do not truly understand how the world they live in actually works. They are busy surviving, worrying about food, rent, and daily life. And in the end, they vote based on feelings or headlines. Our society today is not so different from ancient Athens. We live in an ocean of information, yet true knowledge keeps shrinking. News media, social networks, algorithms, all of them turn us into a digital herd, convinced that we are free. Everyone has a voice. Few take responsibility for what they say. The modern crowd is fed on emotion, fear, outrage, carefully engineered anger. Look at Hong Kong. In 1997, Chief Executive Tung Chee-hwa proposed building 85,000 housing units per year to give citizens a chance to own a home. But real estate tycoons, led by Li Ka-shing, knew that if housing prices fell, their profits would collapse. So they mobilized the media. They spread fear. They warned that falling house prices would destroy the economy. And the people believed it. They took to the streets to oppose a policy that would have benefited them. 25 years later, the consequences are visible. Thousands of Hong Kong residents still live in cage homes, barely 4 square meters wide. The dream of home ownership has become a luxury. Socrates was right. When the crowd lacks understanding, it becomes easy to manipulate. When democracy rests in the hands of those without sufficient knowledge, it ceases to be a tool of liberation and becomes a machine of self-destruction. Athens was proud to be the birthplace of democracy, yet it was that very democracy that executed the man who taught them how to think. More than 2,500 years later, humanity still has not learned the lesson. We still choose the candy seller, we still believe slogans over reason, and we still call it the will of the people. Perhaps the greatest tragedy of democracy lies not in the system itself, but in human nature. We crave freedom, yet fear the truth. We want to be guided, but refuse to be taught. And that is what Socrates saw at the dawn of civilization, when humanity was still learning how to walk the long road called progress. The nature of the crowd, from antiquity to the digital age. Since ancient times, humans have always been herd creatures. This instinct helped us survive. We gathered to hunt, to resist nature, to feel safe in a dangerous and unpredictable world. But this seemingly harmless instinct became the seed of every collective delusion. Inside a crowd, individual will dissolves into shared emotion. When we merge into the mass, we are no longer ourselves. We become part of a giant creature called the collective. It has no intelligence, only reflex, no conscience, only instinct. The psychologist Gustave Le Bon wrote in The Psychology of Crowds that within a crowd, humans regress to the unconscious. They become primitive beings, easily persuaded, easily provoked, and easily driven to violence. The crowd does not need truth, it only needs the feeling of being right. When many people believe the same thing, evidence becomes unnecessary. Consensus replaces truth. And from this emerges what modern science calls groupthink. When everyone thinks the same, no one is thinking anymore. The price is critical thinking, the ability to pause and ask, why? In ancient Athens, the crowd could only gather in the public square to shout a few shared slogans. In the age of social media, the crowd has acquired a weapon 1,000 times stronger: algorithms. The like button and the share button have become the new ballots. Clicks replace political action. Everyone believes they are expressing an opinion, but in reality, they are merely adding another brick to a wall of illusion. Platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, are not concerned with truth. They care only about what excites, angers, or frightens us. Because those emotions keep us scrolling longer, clicking more, sharing more. As a result, the world is no longer divided by borders, but by emotional algorithms. They create echo chambers, spaces where people hear only their own reflections, wrapped in the illusion that everyone else agrees with them. Inside these chambers, truth is distorted, reason is pushed aside, and democracy mutates into a dictatorship of emotion, where whoever can manipulate fear and outrage wins. Never in history has manipulating the crowd been so easy. One image, one short video, one sentence. Public opinion can flip within hours. Millions rage, then forget the next day. Yet in that brief moment, entire political systems can tremble. No guns, no violence, just transmission. The irony is brutal. Those who believe they are freely expressing themselves are often products molded by the very tools they think they control. Socrates once warned, "A ship cannot sail correctly if the sailors listen only to the wind." Today, those sailors are billions of people adrift in an ocean of information. They believe they are steering the ship of democracy, but the wheel rests in the hands of those who control media platforms, people who understand better than anyone how humans react to fear and anger. Even journalism, once the pillar of democracy, is no longer a pure guardian of truth when media ownership lies in the hands of powerful conglomerates. Information has become a commodity. Citizens have become customers. A newspaper can destroy a politician, inflate an event, or manufacture a hero with nothing more than headlines. Democracy requires freedom of speech, but when that freedom is guided by money, it ceases to be light and becomes fog. People believe they are choosing freely what to read, what to believe, whom to vote for. But in reality, the options are already arranged, like walking into a supermarket where every bottle comes from the same factory. Digital age democracy works the same way. You think you are choosing, but you are choosing between carefully designed traps. The most terrifying thing about the crowd is not its ignorance, but its confidence. People believe they are informed, media literate, resisting the system, while every action they take is predicted, measured, and monetized in real time. Democracy without awareness becomes a game where victory always belongs to the one who controls the screen. In the past, Socrates was sentenced to death for forcing people to think. Today, anyone who speaks against the crowd may face cancellation, reporting, or waves of manufactured outrage. The tools have changed, the psychology has not. The crowd remains the same, easily angered, easily convinced, easily led. The difference is that now the monster no longer gathers in a public square. It lives in our pockets. It lights up every time a notification appears. So what is the way out from blind democracy to enlightened democracy? Socrates never opposed democracy. He warned that democracy without knowledge and ethics would dig its own grave. He did not fear freedom. He feared humans who were unprepared to carry its responsibility. And tragically, humanity has spent thousands of years circling the very loop he described. We worship democracy as sacred, yet treat knowledge as a luxury. Democracy without education is like handing a loaded gun to a child who does not know how to aim. Sooner or later, someone will get hurt, often the one holding the gun. The problem is not democracy itself, but those who operate it. A mature democracy cannot be built on blind ballots. It requires citizens who question, who doubt, who can distinguish between promises and reality. We cannot demand a just society while the majority remains guided by manipulated media and a craving for comfort. Democracy becomes sustainable only when paired with civic education, political, economic, and ethical, not rote memorization. People must understand how systems function, how policies shape daily life, how economic decisions determine national futures. Only then can they truly choose. Otherwise, they are merely pieces in a game designed by others. Yet knowledge alone is not enough. A healthy democracy also requires checks and balances, not only for politicians, but for media, corporations, and technology. When information gatekeepers sell attention, they do not sell truth, they sell profit. At that point, democracy is no longer power belonging to the people, but power belonging to those who control public perception. We need transparency, media free from oligarchic control, platforms that cannot manipulate emotions with invisible algorithms, and above all, we must restore reason to voting. A vote should not be an emotional reflex, but a considered decision. We must vote as doctors prescribe medicine, aware of side effects, willing to bear responsibility. An election should not be a performance contest for politicians only, but a test of civic maturity for the people themselves. Modern democracy must be redefined. It is not merely one person, one vote, but one person, one responsibility. Freedom of speech is not the right to say anything, but the duty to understand before speaking, to know before judging. Because when words lose truth, truth itself dissolves. Perhaps the only escape from blind democracy is enlightened democracy, where knowledge and ethics coexist, where citizens demand rights and shoulder responsibility. Only then does democracy cease to be a game of numbers and become a partnership of conscious individuals who understand what they are doing, for whom, and for what future. Socrates once said, "Education is not the filling of a vessel, but the lighting of a flame." Democracy is the same. It does not need more voices, it needs more light. And only when humans are illuminated enough to govern themselves does democracy stop cutting its own flesh and begin to heal.